What is up, guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to dial in that tire fitment, so I got some wheel spacers and extended lug nuts. But before that, I got to show you guys the fact that I have more brake issues. As a quick TLDR, a few days ago I was actually working on this car trying to get it ready for an event, so I had started putting the extended wheel studs and spacers on the backside, which is when I stumbled upon the brake problem that I have. I took a little clip and I'll show you guys that now. So I'm in here putting in extended wheel studs, and one of the things I noticed is that, look at this right here, man. So what you can see from that video is that the rotors were just too small, so then the brake pads in the back weren't making full contact, which would impact my braking ability. So that is a bit of a safety issue. And just for some context, when I entered the raffle for this car, the description said that it came with new brake pads and rotors. So what I'm guessing is the rotors were installed, they were too small, but it was just sent out anyways. To be frank with you guys, I'm not really surprised. I mean, this car has had a lot of questionable work done to it, in my opinion, of course. I think what irritates me more is the fact that I let that slide for the last year, and like I said, that's a huge safety concern, so I'm more mad at myself because I've had the car for a year. I should have caught that, and there's not any excuse for not catching it. At the end of the day, it is what it is, but there is two positives. First of all, that could explain why I've been having the brake issues. As I've said before, it doesn't feel like it has the clamping force that it should, or not the clamping force, it doesn't stomp on a dime like it should. And I always just thought it was the brake pads. It could still be brake pads, but that would partially explain the braking dilemma I've been having. The second issue is it's a really easy fix. I'm gonna get new rotors for the backside, and I'm gonna get some EBC yellow pads. In case someone is new to the channel or just not up to date on the history of my car, essentially I won it in a raffle, but I made a video on it that gives a general overview of when I first got it and everything like that, so I'll link to that in the description below. Now that we got the brake stitching out of the way, I did at least finish up the back, so I got the extended wheel studs and spacer put on, so I took a little before video and after video. Well guys, here is a quick little walk around before I go ahead and put these spacers on. As you guys can see, the wheel fitment is not exactly pristine there. So we got the spacer put on. As you guys can see from the side, it sits a lot more flush. It's not perfect. There's still a little bit of space in here, but that's okay. It's actually like that because I'm running about 1.5 degrees, 2 degrees of camber. Also, I wanted to do that on purpose because in the future, I am gonna go with a bigger tire in the back. So guys, now we're actually going to get down to work, sort of. I'll explain my decision making, then we'll start working. So I had two options with wheel spacers. There's the bolt-on type, and then there is the slip-on type. So first and foremost, I want to make it clear, you always just want to get a quality spacer if you're going to run one. People have different opinions on that, and that's perfectly fine. I'm just giving you guys mine. So with the bolt-on spacer, it's nice because you don't have to run extended wheel studs. Pretty much the only downside is that if it's too small, you may have to chop your wheel stud off a little bit so it doesn't hit the back of the rim. I personally wouldn't want to do that. Now, the only reason I'm actually not running this one, because this one's good and it's held up. I ran it on my other car, but I took it off more than anything, having those extra wheel studs or wheel bolts that I have to tighten down because instead of having 5 per wheel, it's 10 per wheel, and that's just so many more failure points. So I like simplicity. Now that's the reason why I went with the slip-on spacer. I only have to worry about 5 lug nuts at each wheel instead of the 10. Pretty much the big thing, which goes for both types of spacers, is that you want to make sure it's hub centric, and that way it essentially just acts as an extension of the hub. Pretty much the big thing with slip-on spacers is that you just need to make sure that those lug nuts are turning enough so that you're able to torque it down properly. In the vast majority of cases, you're going to have to do extended wheel studs, which is exactly what I did. What I decided to do was, I was being cheap. I didn't really want to pay for ARP studs because I think it would have been $35 per set of 5, so that would have ended up being $140. When you take shipping into account, let's just say $150, right? ARP parts are obviously quality parts, but I'm cheap, more poor than anything. So what I ended up doing was I just got I looked up the OE specs for the wheel studs on these, and I just cross-referenced those, and what I ended up finding was a wheel stud for a Toyota Tacoma. Now, these aren't like OE replacement ones. I went online, searched a little bit, and I found a place that specializes in off-roading for Toyota Tacomas, and then I bought the extended wheel studs, and they fit like a charm. If anyone else is curious about finding like the OE specs for the wheel studs on the MR2 and how you can cross-reference them, I'll actually link to a post on one of the MR2 forums because that's how I found out this information. And then from there, like I said, I was able to look online and then find these ones at literally a fraction of the price, because these were $75 shipped to my door versus the $150. And based off of what I've seen and then the grades of the bolt and everything like that, it should do the same work just at a cheaper price. To replace the wheel studs, it's pretty simple. You literally take off the brakes, the caliper bracket there. Well, that is part of the brakes, but okay, you take off the whole brake assembly, whatever. And then you disconnect this line over here. The rotor comes off. You then just smash out the wheel studs. Correction, you want to leave this clip alone. You take out the clip down here. To take off the brake caliper and the caliper bracket, you take a 12. There's 2 little bolts here. And then the bracket itself has 2 little 17 millimeter bolts. Quick little side tip I forgot to mention, and I forgot to do, is I always recommend putting a lug nut or two, lug nut or two. I don't know why I was thinking wheel stud. Just to hold the rotor in place so it doesn't come flying off. Makes your life a lot easier. Old wheel stud, except the one I had earlier was new. Yeah, but this is old, as you can see. This is the new one. It's a lot longer. Probably about 1 inch, give or take. So now it comes time to install these. The way I like to do it is typically I have a stack of washers. They do have a tool, which I just found out about, and I was going to buy it because I found it online for 20 bucks. So obviously I want to get this done today. So I went to the auto parts store. They were trying to charge 50 bucks, and they're like, well, we can give you a 25% off coupon. I was like, no, that's ridiculous. So what I'm going to do instead, or I didn't go today, I went yesterday, regardless though. So what I'm going to do instead is just use this. Anyways, what you do, you put this in the hub, and then on the other side, you put this here. You'll then take a lug nut, and you're obviously going to sacrifice a few lug nuts doing this, and you'll just twist it on, and it will slowly pull it through. The big thing is just do it nice and steady. Take your time so this goes in evenly, and everything's nice and centered. Alright guys, so I kind of rushed through it real quick. I got the driver's side done. I'm on the passenger side. I already got the wheel studs installed. So we're going to put everything back together. I am in a bit of a kind of a rush, mainly because of my bad time management. But more importantly, Jesus is going to come over. We're going to do a bolt check on his Miata because we're finally going to get to do that autocross comparison of my white MR2 and his Miata. So to put the car back together, it's really simple actually. Normally I would use a lug nut to hold the rotor in place. The issue is, because of the extended wheel studs, these are too short now. Alright guys, so my car is all ready to be dropped down. I did take some before shots, so I'll quickly show you that so you can see what I was playing around with and how it could have looked. Alright guys, so here is the before shot. This side here is the driver's side. It's also where I put the 25 mil bolt-on spacer. It looks super, super aggressive. I actually prefer this look, but I don't really want to run a bolt-on spacer just because it's that many more failure points. And here's the other side. I played with the camber a bit, and the only way that I can keep it from rubbing is if I take most of the camber off, which is not ideal because of what I'm going to be doing. So this is definitely a no-go. All right, guys, we're going to drop her down now. I hope it looks good. I know it's going to be slightly tucked. Okay, that's not bad, actually. What do you think, Jesus?
This is really nice.
Yeah, I think so, too. And one of the big things is I could have gone with the bigger spacer, but I am going to do a bigger tire in the future, so that's perfect. It's a really nice, close to flush fitment. I'm happy with it.
Yeah, it's really nice. If I could get mine close like that, I'd be happy with it.
Well, we can, because yours is really low too, or low enough for daily driving. And then if you just got some little spacers too to make them sit flush.
That's true. I will, but other stuff I want to buy first.
Yes. Anyways, we're done with my car for the day. This thing, other than brakes and the alignment that it'll need to get, or the rear brakes, it's good to go. So we're going to do a bolt check on his car because we're finally going to do that autocross comparison. Alright guys, so we got his bolt check done. It's a good thing we did it because a few bolts were actually loose, right?
Yeah, so the rear right control arm bolt was loose, and the front right one, the one that I'd replaced, needed to be tightened down a little bit more.
So yeah, it's a good thing we double checked everything. So it's why you guys should also I don't know why I said that 3 times. It's why you guys should also do bolt checks on your cars, even if you're not doing motorsport stuff. But other than that, it's pretty good. I'm excited because we're gonna finally do that comparison and see whose car is faster. I think it's gonna be a close one. I got the better tires, but he has, honestly, I think the car that's easier in terms of accessing the performance. His car is way easier to drive at the limits. Plus you got the coilovers on me.
Oh, that's true. I mean,
I guess we'll just see. The thing is though, the Miatas tend to react better to modifications, or they tend to gain more time to modifications in comparison to MR2s. At least that's what I've seen with autocrossing. So it should be a good one is the point.
yeah, find out tomorrow.
Or in the next video, you guys will find out. But before we go, I had to pull my car outside just to give you guys a better view. So the front, it actually sits really flush. I think I'm gonna add some more camber, so I'll put a smaller crash bolt up front. That's gonna be really functional for the autocross stuff that I'm doing. In the back, as I mentioned before, it's almost flush. I think once I put that bigger tire on the back, it's gonna be perfect.
So you're gonna go to 255 instead of 245?
Yeah, so I wanna go at least a 255. Like Jesus just mentioned, I would really love to do like a 275.
That's really thick.
Well, it's really thick. I've seen a couple guys do it, but they had to do some modifications. I don't know what modifications, so I have to look that up. And then the front, I've seen people run 245s. Again, I don't know what they did to run it. I have to look that up, but I know I can definitely fit a 225. So it's gonna get bigger tires, which is gonna be really functional for the autocross and other stuff that I do. Yeah, but anyways, guys, thanks for watching, and you'll see us in the next video on tearing up the cars.